It was an ordinary Tuesday, the kind of day that starts with the usual rush coffee brewing, traffic jams, and the hum of routine. I had been working late shifts for weeks, and this time, I decided to surprise my wife, Lisa, by coming home early. I had a feeling that our relationship needed a little spark, and I thought a spontaneous evening together might do the trick. As I drove home, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. I imagined us laughing over takeout, reminiscing about our early days, and maybe even curling up on the couch for a movie. The thought of seeing her smile made the long day worth it. Pulling into the driveway, I noticed Lisa's car was parked out front, which was a good sign. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm glow over the house. I quietly unlocked the door and stepped inside, taking in the familiar scent of her favorite candles. It felt good to be home. But as I moved deeper into the house, something felt off. I could hear soft voices coming from the bedroom. At first, I dismissed it, thinking she might be on a call with a friend or maybe watching a show with the volume turned up. But as I approached the bedroom door, the laughter I heard sent a chill down my spine. I paused, heart pounding in my chest. A sense of dread washed over me as I realized I had never heard her laugh like that before, not in a long time. It was playful and intimate, filled with a warmth I hadn't felt in months. My stomach twisted as I grappled with the thoughts racing through my mind. Taking a deep breath, I pushed the door open just enough to peek inside. The sight that met my eyes felt like a punch to the gut. Lisa was sprawled on the bed, laughing, but she wasn't alone. A man, someone I didn't recognize, was leaning over her, their faces mere inches apart, as if sharing a private joke. Time seemed to freeze as I stood there, a silent witness to the betrayal unfolding before me. My heart sank, and I felt a mix of anger, heartbreak, and disbelief. I wanted to shout, to demand answers, but my voice felt trapped in my throat. Instead, I stepped back, letting the door close softly, my mind racing. What was I supposed to do now? I had built a life with Lisa, filled with love, dreams, and promises. How had we ended up here? I needed time to process everything, to figure out what this meant for us, for our future. As I sat on the couch in the living room, my mind replayed the scene over and over. The sound of their laughter echoed in my ears, each giggle stabbing deeper into my heart. The feeling of betrayal was suffocating. I thought about all the little signs I had brushed off, the late nights, the mysterious texts. How had I been so blind? The sun dipped below the horizon, and with it, my hope began to fade. The reality of what I had witnessed settled in. I had to confront her, but how? Would it be a confrontation, or would it turn into a fight? Questions flooded my mind, but one thing was certain, nothing would be the same again. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a long, tumultuous journey that would force me to confront not only Lisa but also myself. Chapter 2, The Confrontation. The hours stretched on, the weight of the evening's revelation pressing down on me like an anchor. I sat in the dim light of the living room, the silence almost deafening. I could hear the clock ticking in the background, each tick a reminder that time was moving forward, while my world felt like it had stopped. Eventually, I heard the soft creak of the bedroom door. Lisa stepped out, her face bright with a smile that quickly faded when she saw me sitting in the dark. The moment hung heavy in the air, charged with unspoken words. "Hey. You're home early," she said, her voice light, but I could hear the hint of nervousness underneath. I said nothing, just stared at her, my heart racing. "Is everything okay?" she asked, fidgeting slightly, her smile faltering. I finally found my voice. "No, Lisa, everything is not okay." The words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered. "I saw you. I saw you with him." Her face went pale. "What are you talking about?" she said, her tone shifting from confusion to defensive. "You know exactly what I'm talking about." The man in our bedroom. You were laughing, sharing something intimate. I couldn't keep the bitterness from seeping into my words. David, she started, but I cut her off. Don't. Just don't. You owe me the truth. She took a step back, her eyes wide, and I could see the fear creeping in. For a moment, I thought I saw regret flicker across her face. It's not what you think, she said finally, her voice trembling. He's just a friend. A friend. I scoffed. Friends don't share that kind of intimacy, Lisa. Friends don't laugh like that on a bed. I didn't mean for it to happen, she said, her voice breaking. It just did. We were working on a project together, and I didn't know how to tell you. A project. I echoed, feeling the anger bubble up. You think I'm going to believe that? What kind of project involves being alone in our bedroom? I work late to provide for us, and this is how you repay me. Tears welled in her eyes, and she took a step closer, reaching out as if she wanted to touch me. Please, let me explain. I messed up. It was a mistake. I love you, I really do. I never wanted to hurt you. I can't even look at you right now, I said, my voice heavy with disappointment. I felt like a stranger in my own home, surrounded by the remnants of a life I thought we were building together. David, please, she pleaded. I can't lose you. I'll do anything to fix this. Anything. I shot back, the words laced with sarcasm. What could you possibly do to fix this? Trust is shattered, Lisa. How can I believe anything you say? The room was thick with tension, her desperation palpable. She dropped to her knees, tears streaming down her cheeks. I'm so sorry. I'll prove it to you. I promise to cut ties with him. I'll do whatever it takes to rebuild your trust. I wanted to believe her, I really did. But the image of her with another man played on a loop in my mind. The laughter, the closeness, it felt like a wound that would never heal. Right now, I need space, I said, my voice softer but firm. I can't talk to you like this. I need time to think. She nodded, her expression a mix of fear and sadness. I understand, she whispered, backing away. I watched her retreat to the bedroom, and for the first time, the house felt emptier than ever. As I sat there alone, my mind raced. The future I had envisioned felt fragile, hanging by a thread. Would I be able to forgive her? Could we ever go back to the way things were? The thought felt impossible, yet I couldn't shake the love I still felt for her. Hours passed, and eventually, I found myself wandering aimlessly through the house, memories flooding my mind. Photos on the walls captured moments of joy, laughter, and love. But now, those same images felt like reminders of a life that had crumbled beneath my feet. I knew that the road ahead would be difficult. The confrontation had opened a door to a reality I never wanted to face. But I also knew I had a choice to make, to confront the truth or to bury my head in the sand and pretend it didn't happen. As dawn broke the next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, staring out the window. I had a decision to make, one that would change everything. The journey to rebuilding trust, or perhaps moving on, had just begun. Chapter 3, The Aftermath. The sun streamed through the window, casting warm light across the kitchen, but it did little to warm the coldness settling in my heart. I sat there in a daze, the events of the previous night replaying in my mind like an unending nightmare. Each moment felt sharper than the last, and the weight of betrayal hung heavily in the air. I heard the soft shuffle of feet behind me and turned to see Lisa standing in the doorway. Her eyes were red and puffy, remnants of a sleepless night. She looked fragile, a shadow of the vibrant woman I had married. For a moment, I felt a pang of sympathy, but it was quickly overshadowed by anger. "Can we talk?" she asked hesitantly, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, though the tightness in my chest made it hard to breathe. What more is there to say? You've already told me what happened. I know, she said, stepping further into the kitchen, her gaze dropping to the floor. But I need to explain. I need you to understand how it happened. I crossed my arms, leaning back in my chair. Do you really think that will change anything? I saw you with him, Lisa. I heard you laughing. I know, she repeated, frustration creeping into her voice. But it was stupid, impulsive. It didn't mean anything. It was just a moment of weakness. Just a moment. I shot back. This isn't some minor slip-up. You crossed a line that shouldn't be crossed. You knew what you were doing. Her shoulders slumped, and she sighed heavily. I'm not trying to excuse it. I don't want to lose you. I've been feeling so distant, and instead of talking to you, I let it go too far. I was confused. Confused. I echoed, incredulous. You chose to be with someone else instead of coming to me? You know I've been working late, trying to provide for us. I thought we were in this together. I thought I was being supportive, she said, her voice trembling. But I was wrong. I realize that now. I'm so sorry. The tears began to fall again, and I felt a flicker of the love I once had for her, battling with the anger and hurt. Sorry doesn't change what happened. You can't take that back. I'll do anything to make it right, she insisted, desperation edging her tone. I'll cut him off completely. I'll go to counseling. I'll work on us. Just please don't give up on me. I considered her words, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on me. Could I really take that step back toward her? Part of me wanted to scream and walk away, to escape the pain that seemed to seep into every corner of our home. But another part of me yearned for the life we had built together. Why should I believe you? I asked, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. What guarantees do I have that this won't happen again? She took a deep breath, her expression shifting from panic to determination. You don't have any guarantees, but I promise you this, I'll fight for us. I'll show you that I can change. I want to be better for you, for us. I felt my heart waver, torn between the desire for closure and the glimmer of hope that maybe we could find our way back to each other. I need time, Lisa. I can't just jump back into things. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight. I understand, she said softly, her voice thick with emotion. I'll give you all the time you need. Just please don't shut me out completely. As she turned to leave, I called out, wait. She paused, looking back at me with a mix of hope and uncertainty. I need to know how you plan to do this, I said. If we're going to have any chance of moving forward, I need to see effort. Not just words. I can do that, she replied, her eyes brightening. I'll start by reaching out to him and ending things right now. You deserve that much. I nodded, a fragile sense of resolve building within me. Maybe there was a chance, but it would take time and a lot of work. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but I knew I had to confront my feelings head on, both for my sake and for hers. As Lisa stepped outside to make the call, I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision beginning to settle. The path of healing lay before us, uncertain but still possible. I could only hope that, together, we could navigate the tumultuous waters of our relationship and find a way back to the love we once shared. But for now, all I could do was wait and see if her words would turn into action. Chapter 4, A Fragile Beginning. The morning stretched into afternoon, the sun casting long shadows across the kitchen table where I sat, lost in thought. Lisa had stepped outside to make her call, leaving me alone with my racing mind. I replayed her words over and over, I'll do anything to make it right. But could I trust her again? After what felt like an eternity, Lisa returned, her face a mixture of relief and apprehension. I did it, she said, her voice steady. I told him it's over. I told him I can't see him anymore. I searched her eyes for sincerity, looking for any sign that she was being truthful. What did he say? He was surprised, but he understood, she replied, though her gaze fell, as if the weight of the truth was too much to bear. I told him I'm committed to working on my marriage, and I need to focus on that. And what about you? I asked, my tone softening. How do you feel? She took a deep breath, tears brimming in her eyes again. I feel awful. I can't believe I let it go this far. I've been so stupid. Her voice cracked. I don't want to lose you. You mean everything to me, and I've jeopardized that. I nodded, still unsure of what to believe. It's going to take time for me to process all of this. Just because you ended things with him doesn't mean I'm suddenly okay. I know, she said quickly. I'm prepared for that. I'll do anything to prove to you that I'm serious about making things right. As we sat in silence, I felt the tension in the room begin to shift, though the air still felt thick with uncertainty. I wanted to believe her, to trust that she was genuinely committed to rebuilding our life together. But doubt nagged at the edges of my mind. Maybe we should consider counseling, I suggested cautiously. It might help us work through this more effectively. Absolutely, Lisa replied, her eyes lighting up. I'll find a therapist we can both see. I want to understand why this happened and how we can fix it. Good, I said, feeling a flicker of hope. But we both have to be all in. No half measures. Agreed, she said, nodding fervently. I'm ready to put in the work. As the days turned into weeks, we settled into a new routine. Lisa immersed herself in finding a counselor, and we began attending sessions together. Each week, we unraveled more of the issues that had been festering beneath the surface. Communication had broken down long before the affair, and it took time to uncover those layers of neglect and misunderstanding. In those sessions, we confronted uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our marriage. Lisa opened up about her feelings of loneliness during my long hours at work, while I expressed my frustrations about her seeking comfort outside of our relationship. It was painful to confront, but slowly, it felt as if we were beginning to rebuild a bridge that had been shattered. On one particularly emotional evening, after a tough therapy session, Lisa and I sat on the couch in silence. She turned to me, her eyes glistening. I know it's going to take a long time for us to heal, but I want you to know how much I appreciate you giving me a chance. I've realized just how much I took for granted. I hesitated, wrestling with my feelings. I want to believe you, Lisa. I really do. But I can't help but feel this lingering doubt. What if you slip again? I won't, she said firmly, her voice steady. I'm committed to being better. I promise to communicate with you, to be open about how I'm feeling. You deserve that. I need to see that in action, I replied, searching her eyes for sincerity. Talk is easy, but actions speak louder. You have to show me that you mean what you say. I will, she insisted, her expression earnest. I'll prove it to you. As the days went by, I started to notice subtle changes in her behavior. She made a concerted effort to reach out and connect, whether it was sharing her day with me or planning little surprises to rekindle the spark we had lost. We took walks together, cooked meals, and even revisited old hobbies we had once enjoyed. But the road was still rocky. Some days, the memories of her betrayal threatened to suffocate me, and I found myself pulling away again. I knew that healing wasn't linear, and it was okay to have setbacks, but every time doubt crept in, it felt like a fresh wound. One evening, as we sat together watching a movie, I felt a familiar warmth wash over me. I reached for her hand, and she squeezed it tightly, a silent reassurance that she was still here, still fighting for us. Can we talk about what happened? I asked quietly, breaking the comfortable silence. Of course, she replied, her tone serious. I'm here to listen. I can't shake the feeling of betrayal sometimes. It hits me when I least expect it, and I don't know how to get past it, I confessed. I understand, she said, her eyes softening. I'm so sorry for what I did. I wish I could take it back. But I'm here now, and I want to help you heal. Please don't hesitate to talk about it. I guess I just need to know you're really committed to changing. That you understand how much you hurt me, I said, vulnerability creeping into my voice. I do, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I understand, and I'll keep doing whatever it takes to show you that I'm serious about us. As the words hung in the air, I felt a flicker of hope igniting once more. It would be a long journey, fraught with challenges, but perhaps we could find our way back to each other. With cautious optimism, I took a deep breath, ready to navigate the uncharted waters of our relationship. Together, we were starting to rebuild not just what we had lost, but something deeper, something more resilient. Chapter 5, Navigating the Uncertainty. The weeks turned into months, each day a blend of hope and anxiety as Lisa and I continued to navigate the treacherous waters of our relationship. Counseling sessions had become a lifeline, offering a safe space to express our fears and frustrations. Yet, despite the progress we were making, I couldn't shake the undercurrent of doubt that seemed to linger just beneath the surface. One evening, after a particularly emotional therapy session, we sat on the couch, the glow of the TV illuminating the room but failing to fill the silence between us. Lisa shifted nervously, her fingers intertwining as she sought the right words. David, she started hesitantly, I know things have been better, but I can sense that you're still struggling with everything that happened. I nodded, taking a deep breath. I am. I want to believe we're moving forward, but sometimes it feels like I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I get it, she said, her voice soft. It's normal to feel that way, especially after what we've been through. But I want you to know that I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. Sometimes it just feels like I'm living in the shadow of your betrayal, I admitted, the weight of my feelings spilling out. I'm trying to forgive, but it's hard. I don't want to constantly look over my shoulder. I promise I'm doing everything I can to rebuild your trust, she said, her eyes earnest. I'm committed to being open with you about everything. No more secrets. Then let's keep communicating, I suggested. We can't ignore the hurt and pretend it's all gone. We need to face it head on if we're going to heal. Lisa nodded, her expression resolute. Absolutely. Let's make it a point to check in with each other, even about the tough stuff. I want you to feel safe sharing your feelings. That night, we started a new routine. Every evening before bed, we'd sit down and talk about our day, our feelings, and anything that was on our minds. It became a grounding practice, one that reminded us of our commitment to each other. And as we opened up more, I began to notice the small shifts in our dynamic. Laughter started to return to our conversations, and those moments of connection felt like the beginning of something new. But even with our newfound communication, I still had my moments of doubt. One afternoon, I came home early from work, hoping to surprise Lisa with a spontaneous date night. As I walked through the door, I felt a rush of excitement, but it quickly morphed into anxiety when I noticed her sitting on the couch, her phone in hand. She seemed lost in thought, and a familiar knot tightened in my stomach. Hey, I said, trying to keep my tone light. What are you up to? She looked up, startled, and a flicker of something crossed her face. Oh, just scrolling through social media. I forced a smile, but the unease lingered. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As we sat down for dinner, I found myself distracted, thoughts racing as I recalled the nights when her phone had been a source of concern. Is everything okay? She asked, her voice pulling me back to the moment. Yeah, just, thinking, I replied, forcing the words out. It's hard to shake this feeling that I'm still waiting for something bad to happen. I'm sorry, she said, her voice filled with empathy. I know that's a heavy burden to carry. But I promise, I'm committed to making this work. If anything's bothering you, you can tell me. I appreciate that, I said, taking a deep breath. It's just hard to let go of the past. We continued with dinner, but the shadow of doubt lingered in my mind. I knew it was unfair to project my insecurities onto her, yet I couldn't help it. It was like a reflex, a defense mechanism built from the hurt I had experienced. The following week, during one of our therapy sessions, we began discussing my feelings of insecurity. Our therapist, Dr. Mills, guided us through the process, encouraging me to voice my fears without blaming Lisa. It's important for you to express how you feel, David, Dr. Mills said gently. But also remember that Lisa is working hard to prove her commitment to you. How can you find a balance between your feelings and her efforts? As I spoke about my struggles, Lisa listened intently, her expression a mix of concern and understanding. I never want you to feel like you can't share what you're feeling, she said softly. I know I've caused you pain, and I want to help you heal. After our session, I felt a renewed determination. We left the therapist's office hand in hand, ready to tackle the challenges ahead together. I realized that acknowledging my insecurities was the first step to overcoming them. That night, as we sat in our living room, I turned to Lisa. Can we talk about how we can make this easier for both of us? I think I need to feel reassured more often. Of course, she said, her eyes lighting up. What do you need from me? I think it would help if we set aside time each week to check in just to talk about how we're feeling. It might help me feel more secure, I suggested. That sounds great, she agreed, a smile spreading across her face. We can even make it a date night, something to look forward to every week. Yeah, I like that, I replied, feeling a sense of relief. I want to work through this together. As the weeks turned into a routine, we made it a priority to communicate openly. I found that expressing my fears became easier, and Lisa responded with kindness and reassurance. We began to cultivate an environment where vulnerability was welcomed, and I started to feel a sense of safety return to our relationship. But even as we progressed, the shadow of doubt still crept in from time to time. I realized that healing was not a linear path, it was filled with ups and downs. There were days when I felt strong, convinced we could overcome anything, and other days when the past threatened to overwhelm me. One particularly difficult night, I found myself lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. Lisa turned to me, sensing my restlessness. What's on your mind? She asked softly. I'm just feeling a little lost, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. I want to trust you completely, but it's hard when the memories come flooding back. I understand, she said, her voice filled with compassion. It's okay to have those feelings. I wish I could erase the past, but I can't. All I can do is be here for you now. I know, I replied, feeling a mix of gratitude and sorrow. It's just a tough battle, and some days, I don't know if I'm winning or losing. You're not losing, she reassured me, her hand finding mine. Every time you talk about how you're feeling, you're taking a step toward healing. We're in this together. Her words wrapped around me like a warm blanket, offering solace in the storm of uncertainty. I took a deep breath, knowing that while the journey ahead was daunting, I wasn't alone. As I drifted off to sleep that night, I felt a flicker of hope within the chaos. Maybe we could find our way back, piece by piece. It would take time, effort, and vulnerability, but together, we could navigate the uncertainty and build something stronger than before. Chapter 6, Building a New Foundation. The weeks rolled on, marked by a series of small victories and setbacks. Lisa and I had settled into a rhythm, our weekly check-ins becoming a cornerstone of our healing process. We began to explore the roots of our issues, peeling back the layers of our relationship to discover what had driven us apart in the first place. One evening, after a particularly productive session with Dr. Mills, we returned home feeling lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. Lisa turned to me with a smile. "I feel like we're really making progress," she said, her eyes sparkling with hope. "I do too," I replied, a smile breaking across my face. "I didn't expect to feel this way, but it's nice to finally talk about everything." "Let's celebrate," she suggested, her excitement palpable. "How about a date night? Just you and me, no distractions." I grinned at the idea. "Sounds perfect. What do you have in mind?" "Let's go to that Italian place we used to love," she said. "I'll make a reservation, and we can enjoy a nice dinner together." As Lisa made the arrangements, I felt a swell of affection for her. This was the woman I had fallen in love with, thoughtful, passionate, and eager to reconnect. Despite the rocky road we had traveled, the flickers of our old connection began to spark anew. Later that evening, we dressed up for our date, both of us putting in the effort to look our best. As I watched Lisa carefully choose her outfit, I couldn't help but admire how beautiful she looked, her smile radiating confidence. We had both worked hard to rebuild not just our relationship but also ourselves. At the restaurant, the atmosphere was warm and inviting, the scent of fresh basil and garlic filling the air. We settled into a cozy booth, and as we sipped our wine, I felt the tension of the past begin to melt away. "Here's to new beginnings," Lisa said, raising her glass. "To new beginnings," I echoed, clinking my glass against hers. Over dinner, we shared stories, laughter, and memories, the kind that reminded us of the love we once had. We talked about our hopes for the future, our dreams, and how we envisioned our lives together moving forward. Each conversation felt like another thread weaving us closer together. But even amidst the joy, a small voice in the back of my mind warned me not to let my guard down completely. The fear of slipping back into old patterns lingered, a shadow that followed our moments of happiness. After dinner, we decided to take a walk through the nearby park, the moonlight casting a soft glow on the path ahead. As we strolled, hand in hand, I turned to Lisa, my heart swelling with affection. "I'm really proud of us, you know. It feels like we're genuinely moving forward." "I feel the same way," she replied, squeezing my hand. "I've missed the connection, the laughter. It reminds me of how good we can be together." Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out to see a message from a number I didn't recognize. Curiosity piqued, I opened it, only to find a text that turned my stomach. "Just wanted to remind you what Lisa is capable of. She hasn't changed." My heart dropped. I felt a rush of anger and betrayal wash over me. I looked up at Lisa, who had noticed my sudden shift in expression. "What is it?" she asked, concern etching her features. "Just a message, from someone I don't know," I replied, my voice trembling. "But it seems like it's about you." "What does it say?" she asked, her eyes widening. I hesitated, unsure if I should share the harsh words with her. But I realized that keeping it to myself would only build walls again. "It says you haven't changed. That you're still capable of the same mistakes." Lisa's face paled, and she took a step back, hurt flashing across her features. "David, I swear, I've been committed to you. I've done everything to prove that to you." "I know," I said, my voice filled with frustration. "But this message, whoever sent it, they clearly want to stir things up. I thought we were past this. I thought we were moving forward." Lisa ran a hand through her hair, clearly shaken. "I don't know who would send something like that, but I promise you, I'm not that person anymore. I'm doing everything I can to be better." "I want to believe you," I replied, my heart racing. "But seeing that message, it's like a punch to the gut. It brings everything back. Let's not let this ruin our night, she urged, determination creeping back into her voice. We've worked too hard to let someone else's words take away from what we're building together. I sighed, trying to rein in my emotions. You're right. I need to know you're really in this, and not just because of the fear of what might happen. David, I'm in this because I love you. I'm not going back to who I was before. You're my priority, she insisted, stepping closer. As the moonlight filtered through the trees, I could see the sincerity in her eyes. My anger slowly began to dissipate, replaced by a deeper understanding of the challenges we faced together. Let's not let this define us, I said finally, taking her hands in mine. I want to fight for us, but I need you to fight with me. If someone wants to undermine our relationship, they won't win. Exactly, she replied, her voice firm. We're stronger than that. We've come too far to let negativity take us down. With renewed resolve, we walked back to our car, hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As we drove home, I reflected on how much we had both changed, how far we had come. We were no longer just navigating the aftermath of betrayal, we were forging a new path, one that required trust, openness, and unwavering commitment. And as we arrived home that night, I felt a sense of determination swell within me. Together, we could face anything, even the shadows of our past. It was time to build a new foundation, one that was strong enough to withstand the storms that might come our way. Chapter 7, Facing the Past. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions as Lisa and I processed the unsettling text message. We had both agreed to focus on our progress and not let negativity derail us, but the lingering doubts were hard to shake. I found myself on edge, constantly checking my phone, half expecting another message to arrive. At dinner a few nights later, I decided it was time to confront the issue head-on. I've been thinking, I began, hesitating as I gathered my thoughts. About that text and what it means for us. I think we need to set some boundaries with people from our past. Lisa looked up, her expression serious. I agree. I don't want anyone to come between us again. We need to protect what we're building. What about your friends from before? I asked, cautiously. Do you think any of them might be a problem? She sighed, running her fingers through her hair. I can't think of anyone in particular, but I suppose I should reevaluate some of those friendships. I don't want anyone to have the opportunity to undermine us. That makes sense, I replied, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. I think it might be a good idea for us to focus on strengthening the connections we have now, rather than worrying about the past. As we talked, a sense of determination filled the air. We both recognized that we needed to create a protective barrier around our relationship, one that kept out negativity and doubt. After dinner, we decided to go for a walk to clear our heads. The night air was cool and crisp, and as we strolled through the neighborhood, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Let's make a list of things we can do to reinforce our bond, I suggested. Things we can commit to that will help us stay focused on each other. I love that idea, Lisa said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. We can start by planning more date nights, but also set aside time for meaningful conversations like we've been doing. We brainstormed ideas, jotting down everything from game nights to weekend getaways, activities that would help us reconnect and strengthen our relationship. As we talked, the tension that had hung over us began to dissipate, replaced by laughter and excitement about the future. A few days later, during one of our therapy sessions, we shared our ideas with Dr. Mills. It sounds like you're both making a real effort to prioritize your relationship, she said, her smile warm. How do you feel about setting these intentions together? I think it will really help us stay focused, I replied. It gives us something positive to work towards, especially when doubt creeps in. Great, Dr. Mills said, nodding. Intentionality is key. It's important to keep nurturing your connection, especially after experiencing a breach of trust. How can you both hold each other accountable for these new commitments? I think we should check in with each other regularly, Lisa suggested. We can discuss how we're feeling about our plans and if we need to make adjustments along the way. As the session progressed, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. Talking through our ideas not only reinforced our commitment but also gave us the tools to navigate the uncertainty together. That weekend, we planned a spontaneous getaway to a nearby cabin, eager to escape our daily routines. We packed up the car with snacks, board games, and cozy blankets, ready to disconnect and focus solely on each other. The drive was filled with laughter and music, the tension of the past slowly melting away with each passing mile. When we arrived, the cabin was everything we had hoped for, quaint and nestled among towering trees, with a stunning view of the lake. As we unloaded the car, I felt a sense of excitement bubbling within me. This was a chance for us to create new memories and deepen our connection. That evening, we lit a fire in the fireplace and settled on the couch with glasses of wine. "This feels perfect," Lisa said, her eyes glowing in the firelight. "Just us, no distractions." "Exactly," I replied, feeling content. "I've been looking forward to this all week." As we chatted, I noticed how relaxed Lisa seemed, her laughter ringing like music in the air. We reminisced about our early dating days, sharing stories that brought back fond memories. It felt good to reconnect, to remember the love that had brought us together in the first place. Later, as we sat outside under the stars, I turned to Lisa. "I feel like we're really starting to heal," I said, my heart swelling with hope. "Being here together is helping me see just how strong we can be." "I feel it too," she replied, leaning closer to me. "I love you, David. I'm so grateful for this time together." "I love you too," I said, my voice steady. "And I want to keep building our future." We spent the next couple of days enjoying each other's company, hiking through the woods, cooking meals together, and indulging in long talks by the fire. Each moment felt precious, a reminder of what we were fighting for. But as the weekend came to an end, I couldn't shake the unease that lingered. The message still echoed in my mind, a ghost of our past that refused to fade away. On the drive home, I felt compelled to bring it up. "Lisa, about that text. I'm still thinking about it. I just want to make sure we're both clear on how to handle things if something like that happens again." "I agree," she said, her expression serious. "If anyone tries to interfere, we need to be open about it. We can't let outside opinions affect what we've worked so hard to build." "Right," I said, grateful for her understanding. "And if either of us feels uncomfortable, we should voice it immediately. No more hiding or avoiding the tough conversations." "Absolutely," she replied, her tone firm. "We're in this together, and I want to make sure we're always on the same page." As we pulled into our driveway, I felt a sense of resolve settle over me. While the path ahead was uncertain, I knew that together, we could face whatever challenges came our way. We were stronger now, armed with the tools we needed to navigate the complexities of our relationship. As we unpacked the car, I took a moment to reflect on how far we had come. We were no longer just survivors of betrayal, we were partners committed to rebuilding our love. And with each passing day, I felt more hopeful about the future we were creating together. #Chapter 8, Unraveling the Ties. Returning home from our getaway felt like a fresh start. The air was lighter, and the house, once filled with tension, now brimmed with renewed energy. Lisa and I fell back into our routine, but something was different, more hopeful, more intentional. The following week, we had a particularly enlightening therapy session. Dr. Mills encouraged us to explore our feelings around trust and vulnerability. "It's essential to understand that healing isn't about forgetting what happened but learning to live with it," she explained. "How can you both build a stronger foundation of trust moving forward? I think we need to keep being honest with each other, I said, glancing at Lisa. I don't want to bottle up my feelings or fears. If something bothers me, I want to talk about it right away. Lisa nodded. And I need to do the same. I want to be transparent about my past connections, especially if something comes up that could make you uncomfortable. As the session progressed, we discussed the friendships Lisa had maintained from before our relationship. Are there any that you think might cause complications? Dr. Mills asked, guiding us gently. I've been thinking about my friendship with Mark, Lisa admitted, her voice steady. He's someone I used to lean on a lot, and while we've kept things platonic, I can see how it might make David uneasy. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach at the mention of Mark's name. Even though I trusted Lisa, the lingering history between them made me uncomfortable. How do you feel about that friendship now? I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. I care about him as a friend, but I realize now that it's important for me to prioritize our relationship, she said. I'm willing to set boundaries if it means we can feel more secure. Thank you, I replied, feeling grateful for her willingness to consider my feelings. I know it's not easy, but it would help me feel more at ease. After the session, we both felt lighter. We had addressed an issue that had been hanging over us, and Lisa's openness reassured me. The commitment we were making to each other felt genuine and profound. That weekend, we decided to host a small gathering with close friends to reconnect with our social circles and celebrate the positive strides we had made in our relationship. It was a chance to show everyone that we were stronger than ever. As we prepared for the evening, Lisa bustled around the kitchen, chopping vegetables and setting up the table. I can't wait for everyone to see how well we're doing, she said, her excitement infectious. Me too, I replied, helping her with the appetizers. It'll be nice to just enjoy ourselves without any tension. As the evening progressed and our friends arrived, laughter filled the air. It was comforting to see everyone again, to feel a sense of normalcy return to our lives. We shared stories, played games, and indulged in delicious food. However, as the night wore on, I noticed that Lisa's phone was buzzing frequently. Each time, a flicker of unease shot through me. I tried to shake it off, but my instincts were on high alert. After a while, Lisa excused herself to take a call. I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. I knew I was being irrational, but the fear of the past clawed at me, stirring doubts that I thought I had left behind. When she returned, I could tell she was a bit flustered. Sorry about that. Just had to take care of some work stuff, she said, attempting to brush it off. But I noticed the way her eyes darted to her phone, as if she was expecting another message. Everything okay? I asked, trying to sound casual. Yeah, just busy, she replied, but her voice held an edge that made me uneasy. The rest of the evening went smoothly, but my mind was racing. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. After our guests left, I turned to Lisa. Can we talk? Of course, she said, her expression shifting to concern. I know you said it was work, but it just felt different, I admitted, searching her eyes for the truth. Is there something going on that you're not telling me? Lisa sighed, running her hands through her hair. I didn't want to worry you. There's been some tension at work, and I was just trying to handle it. But I promise it's nothing personal. Okay, I said, still feeling a knot in my stomach. I just want to make sure we're being open with each other. I don't want any secrets, even if they seem small. I understand, she replied, her voice earnest. And I'm really trying. If something comes up, I'll tell you right away. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying our conversation in my mind. The shadows of doubt crept in again, and I couldn't help but wonder if I was being paranoid or if there was something more at play. A few days later, I decided to reach out to Mark, wanting to clarify things directly. "Hey, Mark. Can we chat?" I texted, my heart pounding. To my surprise, he responded almost immediately. "Sure, what's up?" We agreed to meet for coffee the next afternoon. I arrived at the cafe feeling a mix of anxiety and resolve. When Mark walked in, he had a relaxed demeanor, but I couldn't shake the feeling of discomfort. "Hey, man. Good to see you," he said, settling into a chair across from me. "Yeah, you too," I replied, taking a deep breath. "I wanted to talk about Lisa." Mark's expression shifted slightly. "Okay. I know you guys have a history, and I just want to make sure there are no mixed signals," I said, trying to keep my tone calm. "I want to protect my relationship with her." "I get it," he said, leaning back in his chair. "But Lisa and I are just friends now. I would never do anything to jeopardize that. I respect you both." "Thanks, I appreciate that," I said, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. "I just wanted to be clear. I'm committed to making this work with her, but I need to know that she has your support, too." "Absolutely. I think it's great that you two are working through things," he replied, his voice genuine. "I want her to be happy, and that's with you." As we finished our conversation, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Mark's sincerity reassured me that my worries might have been unfounded, and it felt good to have an open line of communication. That evening, I shared what I had discussed with Lisa. "I met with Mark," I said, watching her reaction closely. "He assured me that he respects our relationship." "I'm glad you did that," she said, relief flooding her expression. "It shows how committed you are to making this work." "I want us to be able to talk openly about anything, no matter how uncomfortable it is," I replied. "And I want you to feel comfortable doing the same." "I promise I will," Lisa said, her eyes earnest. "I love you, David. I'm all in, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove it." As we sat together, I felt a renewed sense of hope. We had faced a challenge, addressed it head-on, and come out stronger on the other side. The road ahead was still uncertain, but I knew that as long as we kept communicating and being honest with each other, we could weather any storm. And as we held each other close that night, I felt the flickers of trust begin to grow stronger, forging a new foundation for our relationship, one built on understanding, vulnerability, and a commitment to always fight for each other.